first of all, thank you guys for being here. We're hopefully going to have a very informative session, and we're also going to have a little fun. If nothing else, you'll experience some interesting dialects and accents that you usually don't see mapped together. So if we need to do any translation for you, just let us know and we'll map that back in. So we're fortunate today to have Stuart with us from Aldermore. He's been through a migration from an on-prem environment into a managed cloud environment. And so he's going to share some of that with you. And Eddie is our managed lead for all of our services in EMEA. And so this has been a true partnership along the way, as it is with all of our customers. So let me walk you through, just to set some context, what a managed cloud service is from us. Our managed cloud service is an environment where our sole purpose is to make sure we get our software up and available to our customers in a safe and secure manner so they can get the value from our software quickly. We've grown rapidly. It's one of the fastest growing divisions in the company. We've got over close to 700 customers now. One key point to look at is, of that, 250 of those are VIA 4 customers. So that tells you there's rapid adoption of VIA 4 as a managed cloud offering. It also tells you that there's on-prem customers who are moving from 9.4, modernizing and migrating to SaaS cloud in a rapid fashion. So Stuart's going to walk us through some of that as we go forward. The other thing we've done is we have a value engineering team, and they've spent time with our customers looking at, well, if you do this on-prem and you do it by yourself, what are the costs, what's the TCO, what's the ROI, and the value's been, from our clients' experience, been proven to be 2.7 times more value extracted when it's the managed cloud services, and they can deploy, the customers can deploy their resources in different ways. The big thing to me is a 54% reduction in TCO and a 70% reduction in the IT admin work that's spent managing the environment and can be redeployed into other areas. So this is going to be a discussion. I know Mark said there won't be an open Q&A, but we will all be around afterwards, so feel free to come and talk to us. But I've teed you up, Stuart, to talk about how you migrated. Take us back. When you first started looking at moving to a managed cloud service, when you started looking at modernizing 9.4 to VIA 4, what was going on? What was the strategy? What led you there?
So I'm going to just pull you up on one thing you said initially. You said we moved from an on-premise environment to our cloud environment. We actually moved from 2 on-premise environments. Sure. So Aldermore Bank is a mid-sized UK bank, but we also have a motor function, which is actually a separate company called Motonovo. They were doing a modernization exercise. Our SaaS 9.4 on-prem was pretty old. It was built for a lot fewer people than were actually using it, and they were looking at how they modernize that environment. I got brought into that project as a SaaS SME, like an expert, and I said, well, we're doing this for motor, why are we not doing it for everyone? Why are we not doing it for the bank as well? So we kicked off this project to look at, okay, we're modernizing this bit, can we modernize this bit as well? Can we take both of our 9.4 environments and combine them into one cloud service? So that's when we started having conversations with SaaS, discussing what the art of the possible was and trying to understand how we were going to move that forward. We're looking at, I think, about 4 years ago now that we actually kicked off that project.
But it's been going well?
Yeah, it's been going really well. Yeah, and we're continuing to move forward with it. We're actually picking up new products at the moment, and we're using things like intelligent decisioning and Visual Investigator that we weren't even considering before. Okay. Because we're now in a cloud environment, we can scale a lot easier.
Awesome, awesome. So Stuart decides managed cloud services. I'm moving from on-prem to cloud. I'm moving to VIA 4. Eddie, now the ball's going to be in your court. You got to deploy the team. You got to make the deliveries happen. You got to make Stuart happy. It's a partnership. Take us through what the process was in terms of engaging with the customer and moving forward at that point.
Once we've actually got the agreement and everything in place, we sit down with Stuart and actually get a great understanding of really where his achievements need to be, what he's trying to achieve with that, and then really make sure that when we're doing the implementation and build, it's not by accident that Aldermore has been successful. It's by actually a collaboration and partnership of making sure that we knew what the goals were, making sure we actually know when environments were going to be needed, particularly around the prioritization, but also making sure if there was any risks or any issues that we had actually a mitigation plan for, make sure that we can actually hit those timescales and actually have the project managers work together to actually make sure it's aligned across the implementation into UAT, so we can actually make sure we're hitting his timescales on that adoption and modernization.
Okay, great, appreciate that. So the slide said it's been a great experience. A lot of times things from other customers, I'm gonna come to you in a minute and ask you what your experience was. Sometimes we get into these engagements and there's something we didn't anticipate, we have to pivot, we have to make a different move. From either of y'all's perspective, did any of those occur during this? And did we have to pivot? Were there things we wish we knew more in the beginning?
I think the only, not in terms of pivoting, in terms of the actual implementation and deployments. I think where we actually did come a little bit constrained with some of the amount of on the platform that the CAS node was getting really heavily utilized, and because of that we had to deploy our ESM enterprise session monitoring tool just to really do a little bit of fault analysis, where that issue is actually occurring from, and then make sure that we've got plans to rectify that, and to, again, it's about not delaying the implementation, because Stuart's on a time frame, he's on a deadline to actually get this deployed for his clients and his customers. So that's the only really issue within the implementation that we had. Everything else was really quite straightforward.
Okay. That's from our side. All right, so what about you?
Yeah, do you know what? I have to agree. I think none of these things is ever completely sunshine and roses, right? It's IT. Things go wrong. But SAS responded so quickly whenever any issues like that came up with the CAS nodes, looked into it, figured out what went wrong, and we kind of moved forward with the project. So yeah, there was a few little tweaks that we had to make along the way, but I think what Eddie was saying about kind of the pre-planning that we did and making sure that, SAS came to us with lots of, meetings and documents to understand exactly what we needed. So I felt like we were in a really good place before we got started. I think that set us off on the right foot.
Okay, great. You go through a lot of IT projects. Looking at the portfolio you go through in the past, was this one good, challenging, complex, easy?
So massively complex because of the way that our two separate environments did not talk to each other. The motor environment did not talk to the rest of the bank. The data centers didn't talk to each other. The users had not worked in the same way. They'd not developed the code in the same way. It wasn't structured in the same way. The data was different. So we had to work out exactly how we were bringing those two things together, and then work out how to connect back to our on-premise data and all of these sorts of things. So there was lots of complex moving parts, and it was something that was going to be a really big challenge for us.
And the partnership, getting through that, pulling it together, did that go as you had hoped? I'm trying to get you to the point where somebody doing this in the future, we're giving them ideas about things they can do to prepare.
Sure. Yeah. In terms of preparation, for me, the big thing was understanding our existing code base and understanding our existing data. I'm sure there are people stood out here right now that have SAS users that have code hidden in rat's nests of folders, that have got millions of subfolders. Their data's being stored all over the place on their on-premise servers. Understanding all of that and what it is before you move it, I think was the key to the success on this project. And that is the one thing that I think really set us off on the right foot.
And Eddie, that pre-planning, that on the Aldermore side, that's what allowed you and your team to go fast?
Yeah, in terms of moving fast, and I think the other good thing about Aldermore, and moving on slightly into the relationship, it's actually allowed us to really expand our ways of working, particularly around being more open, transparent, particularly around issues that are happening. Aldermore is a very important customer to us. We need to make sure that they get the right information. So if there's an operational risk, or if there's a impact to their daily operations, to their customer, that they're fully aware of it. So we're a lot more open and transparent now since as the relationship sort of progressed, and I think that's been of benefit as well.
Okay, 100%. Great, thanks. All right, now we've done the move.
Yep.
We've got the operational deliveries lined up. We're in production. What positive things have you seen as the outcome so far?
So one thing I just want to touch on really quickly before we kind of get on to what we're doing now is we had this concept that we knew that users were going to kind of look at this new scary thing that they had to do, and we wanted to bring them up to speed on what VIA means to them and the user base. So we came up with this concept of a launch day. So we were going to get all of our users into the office around a table, and SAS were brilliant at sending their teams to our offices to support those days, to give us live demonstrations, to talk us through things, and also to allow us to have a play in the afternoon. So we set users up on SaaS Via and said, this is how you can do certain things, off you go. And SaaS has sent a couple of people over to our office who could support them through that. So that was absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
But in terms of the benefits that we're seeing, now that we're on cloud, the instant speed gain was fantastic. We did an evaluation process of all of our existing code, and on average, I think our code was running around 30% faster, something along those lines. And that was before we even looked at CAS and the kind of in-memory processing. Where we moved some of our longer processes into CAS, we actually saw a 400% speed increase. And
wow.
We've even refined those now, where we used to have a couple of users doing our month-end provisioning processes. They would spend a day and a half doing that. It's now all done by lunchtime on day 1 of the month. And it's one person. So we've seen kind of massive efficiencies there. And I think I also talked about the fact that we're starting to scale and we're starting to think about the other things we can do. It's great moving all of your existing SaaS processes and your existing SaaS code, enterprise guide projects. But SaaS Via comes with Model Studio, it comes with Visual Analytics, and kind of getting users into the idea of using those tools as well. And we're really starting to see the benefits from those. And again, we're kind of continuing our journey with SaaS now, where we're looking at doing our financial crime onboarding, and in the future we're looking at monitoring of in-life and payment screening. So we're using new tools that we've not used before, like Visual Investigator, Intelligent Decision, those things.
So since you're looking at expanding, I'm going to assume Eddie and his team are doing a good job keeping you safe and secure and stable along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a great working relationship. I think Eddie said, we kind of, when you go through a project, you're always going to have, a bit of rub at the beginning, but we found a really good rhythm now, where we can work together, and we have kind of almost daily communication with our cloud managed service team, who can help us out with anything we want to do or any issues we run into. They're always there waiting for us, so yeah, we've got a good relationship. But Eddie, I don't know your perspective.
Yeah, no, I think it's gone really, really well. I think one of the things that we've definitely learned is the relationships sort of progressed. We always try and make sure we're at stable releases, and we're also looking at make sure that we've got the right functionality as quickly as needed. That's not always the case and not always what's needed. So one of the things that we picked up very quickly is stability is within the actual platform, and is very important to Stuart and Aldermore. So we're trying not to rush things too quickly. We've found that very early on in the engagement as well, because sometimes you're trying to make sure that you've got all the functionality without actually really seeing the impact. We're just trying to push. Now we've sort of reined that back a little bit and really looked actually what's the risk impact, what's the impact on Stuart and his business, what's the impact on SaaS as well. And that's been one of the biggest lessons learned, that we're actually helping other clients as well. We're taking that learnings into managed cloud as well for all our clients.
Okay. So we talked early on about the rapid adoption of Via from on-prem customers moving into a managed cloud environment. For those here and watching in the audience, and if they were to pursue this from both of your perspectives, we talked about the pre-planning, we talked about a few things, but what would you advise that folks do to prepare to move to the cloud that would make it an easy transition for them, and how they should operate in terms of enablement on their side from a culture change and training and those kind of things? So just how would somebody do it from your experience that would make it easy?
Yeah. So we've covered the kind of the pre-planning and the project phase, and now we're into, well, how do you use SaaS Via, because it's different to what we've done before. I think the primary learning, the thing that we really tried to get across, it's not that different, right? If you've been using Enterprise Guide previously, it's the same thing in SaaS Studio. So a lot of our code runs almost exactly the same way. There's a minimal amount of refactoring that needs to be done. SaaS provide a tool that allows you to process all of your code and tell you where you're going to need to make changes. So there are those changes. You need to have some resource in place to get that done. And I highly recommend having those kind of launch day sessions, or getting users involved and just getting them hands-on and playing and finding out that it's not that different. There are, of course, a few minor differences that the users need to get used to, but there's not too much. And then kind of an ongoing process to look at those other parts of SaaS Via, like your Model Studios and Visual Analytics, we've just found kind of constantly engaging with our users and showing them what it can do is a great technique. So we have a monthly forum where we kind of bring best practice, we bring people from SaaS or our partners at Catalyze Data, they will come along and they'll do best practice sharing sessions, and people just get excited by seeing these new toys and new tools that they can play with, and then they will ask for kind of training sessions to be set up from there.
What about on the operational side of the house? You talked about the users and their adoption. Any changes or suggestions you'd have for folks that have staff that have been running SaaS on-prem, but now they're moving to a cloud that they need to be prepared for? Or
so I think every company's different, right? You all have different choices to make about whether or not you're going half stack, whether or not you're doing things slowly. For us, we went big bang. We knew that having all of our data in one place was vital, and making sure that syncing between those two environments was an added level of complexity. We knew that there was risks involved, but we thought that with the planning that we put in place, we were going to be okay with it. So we had a relatively short parallel run. We just lined everything up. These guys built the platform ready for us. In the background, we're uploading all the code, testing it, making sure it's ready to go. And then in the matter of a couple of weeks, we moved all in one go. Rip the Band-Aid off, right? Get going, get on with it, and then it really worked for us. Not saying that worked for everyone, but for us, that's our experience.
Fantastic. Eddie, you're the recipient when all this pre-planning takes place. As Stuart just said, you stand it up and get ready for the users. From your experience, both with Aldermore and other customers that are moving, any advice you give folks?
I think Stuart sort of kind of summed it up very nicely, actually, in terms of planning and understanding what is it you're trying to achieve, and more importantly, milestones within that deliverable as well. Because I think one of the big areas that we did very well with Aldermore was actually Stuart came to us with a plan. This is what I need and this is when I need it. Having that at the very start allowed us to make sure that our delivery teams actually were enabled with the right information to say, right, these are the priorities we need and this is when we need to deliver it by. And that includes all the data integrations and the networks, etc. as well. And that helps speed up that end-to-end process.
Okay, thank you. Any last comments you want to leave the audience with?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. We've covered a lot of good stuff, but if anyone is interested, wants to speak to me, I'm happy for you to reach out on LinkedIn or come and chat to me or whatever. I'm happy to go into.
Appreciate it. And thank you very much for your partnership for being here. Eddie, anything from you?
No, there's nothing from me. I think if there is any questions, we are around, so do come and ask questions. We're more than happy to answer those.
Thank you, guys. As I said, there are a lot of people making this move, and we've done it a lot, and you can see from the numbers that it's a proven method and a proven strategy for us. So if anybody's got any questions, not just about moving from on-prem to cloud, but any questions as it relates to cloud at all, there's our little booth's right around the corner here, so we'd love to talk to you, so just come see us. But thank you very much for your time and attention.
Yeah, thank you.